You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Rookie Blue After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Rookie Blue After Show.
Steven, I'm not sure we all liked your choice of music.
This is the Rookie Blue theme.
Really?
Okay.
It sounds so much different on there. Anyways, hey guys, thank you for doing, and we are here doing another Rookie Blue After Show here at AFTERBUZZ TV. I'm Tiona Hobson, and joining me tonight I have 3 awesome lady co-hosts who I will let introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Marisa Serafini.
I am Kim Dahlgren.
And I'm Anik Dufour.
And Kim is new. I know her voice is new to everyone, and she'll be joining us for the rest of the season, so welcome.
Hi guys.
4 hot chicks talking about hot cops. I love it. So this episode, I mean, I really feel like since our little break, the episodes have been picking up, and tonight they didn't miss a beat. It went into a very dark place, a very real place, and I loved it.
I like how this season has a nice balance of emotional episodes to physical to back to emotional. Because last week was more physical takedown, the week before was emotional, and this it went back to the emotional.
Maybe next week we'll have physical.
Maybe.
Maybe they're going on and on.
You guys keep saying physical, and all I can think of is, let's get physical!
Let your body talk. No.
You got a little bit of the 80s swag going on with your one shoulder right now, too, Anik.
All right.
Yeah, so it works. Anyways, let's get into tonight's episode. Gail had kind of a rough time tonight.
Poor baby.
Poor baby. There's not many times that you feel bad for Gail because she's such a great person. Yeah, hard character. But so we have this concerned father who comes into the station and wants to report his 23-year-old daughter missing. Too bad it's only been 9 hours, so there's nothing really Gail can do about it. But then we have Nick and McNally out chilling in the car, kind of flirting, maybe. I love those two together. And they see a taxi driving down the street with a man on the hood of the car.
Man on the hood.
Man on the hood. How exciting
We
is
see that every day.
Yeah, that's something that happens all the time. Turns out that some kid had stolen a taxi from a convenience store. The keys were in the ignition, so he says he didn't steal it. It was just there waiting for him.
He borrowed it.
He borrowed it. He went for a joyride. Well, the cab ends up being that it was used in the case with Ross Perrick, who, as we all remember, is the man who abducted Gail last season and also is responsible for Jerry's death. So we have 2 people who don't need to know about this, which Frank does try to keep both Gail and Traci out of the loop of what's actually going on by keeping them distracted with other things. They bring back Detective Callahan.
Luke is back.
Luke is back. I've been wondering where he was. I love it when he's around.
I love Eric. He's such a sweetheart. I talked to him on Twitter, actually, a couple days ago. And last week, too, and he was watching our show.
Oh.
Yes.
awesome.
Because he tweeted it. And I told him that I was going to give him a shout-out because he wrote, like, a little poem with Andy, him, and Swarek's little, like, love triangle type of thing. So if you want to check out his Twitter, it's at J. Johnston. So you can just check that out.
I love it.
That's cool.
I love it. So then, Grace's father basically screams at Gail because he finds out that she's not on the case anymore. And she doesn't tell him that, she was actually the officer who was abducted last year. She also hasn't put it together at this point that they're looking for a copycat who is copying the same thing that Ross did to her. Which I thought was interesting that she kind of just let him yell at her because Gail's usually the kind of person who's not going to take that from anyone.
Gonna step up.
Yeah.
She's going to
and
step up and say
something.
something. So it kind of caught me as odd that she didn't stand up for herself in that
kind of a vulnerable moment.
Yeah. I think she was more like taken back, like kind of like, you know, like about like all the whole like situation that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Just
think
kind
it
of
was
like,
about absorbing that
Yeah.
this is the guy. And then she wasn't really expecting this random guy coming up saying, oh, my daughter's been abducted. So I think she was just focusing on that rather than thinking about her being
Right.
abducted before and how this is actually connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that we all, I'm on the Rizzoli and Isles show too, and one of the things we usually talk about is how most of the time it's the first person who you meet who ends up being the killer.
Or the one guilty.
Or the one guilty or anything
Yeah.
like that. And so when we had that moment when when they went to the park when Shaw and Epstein were at the park and, you know, the dad's
neighborhood
asking
watch.
the
Yeah.
neighborhood watch and he's
Yeah.
like, hey, to his daughter across the way. It's just kind of, something was off about his questions
Yeah.
that he was asking.
I kind of like felt that maybe he was kind of guilty only because like he said hey to his daughter across and she was like looking at him like, who are you? You know,
Yeah,
she
I
didn't
get
have
that.
that like, she was just looking at him like, I don't know. I mean, wouldn't you be with your daughter instead of
Across
know,
the way
yeah.
from her.
No,
I'm so bad at interpreting things like that. I would never.
All I think is,
It's not till the end of the show that I'm like, oh, okay. I got it.
all I could think of was if it was my child and if someone had just been abducted in this area, I would have them as close to me as possible at all
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, and I agree because when he motioned to that mother and daughter, there seemed like there was a disconnect. Like he just mentioned it, it wasn't actually. But if he was physically with them and protecting the daughter as well, I could have maybe believed it wasn't him. But since he was, there was that distance between the two, or the three really, that there was a disconnect there, that he wasn't telling the truth.
So I was wondering why Shaw or Oliver and Epstein didn't pick up on that. Because, you know, they're cops. They should kind of get a feel for people. Do you think it's just they both had so much going on
Well,
in their
Epstein
own minds?
gave him a little attitude right then, too.
Yeah, he gave him attitude, but, you know, they just kind of were like, all right,
Dropped
get out of
it.
here.
Yeah.
Dropped it. But I guess they were both thinking
I
about
think,
other things.
I think they had just too much stuff going on that it didn't even dawn on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the fact that this episode they didn't have the parade scene that we usually get at the beginning of every episode. Like this is the case for the whole episode. This is
Yeah.
how it laid out. We kind of just got immersed into this random case again. So I think in that because we didn't have that structural thing that we get every week, that they were just kind of not thinking the exact routine that they usually do every day.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true. I agree with you, Marisa. So Sam and McNally get a lead on the case with the taxi driver. They find out who bought the cab from the, what's it called? The graveyard.
impound?
The impound.
Right.
Why do I want to call it graveyard? I don't know. I think of graveyard shifts and impounds. They're synonymous in my mind for some reason. So they find out that the guy's name is Moses Kelly. They go to his apartment. It was really kind of creepy. They find his dad in that
Surrounded by
bed,
plastic.
surrounded by
Yeah.
with a plastic canopy over his
It's like
bed.
one of those like mosquito bug nets.
Yeah.
In like
Yeah.
a foreign, like another country to like keep like the bugs away from like
Yeah.
attacking
Yeah.
you.
I just
It's
kept
weird.
thinking Seven. You know how if you've
Yes,
ever seen that
yes.
movie, they find the body, it looks dead,
Yes.
but it's still alive.
Yeah.
And my mind flashed to Seven.
That's a freaky movie.
I've never seen it.
But I think it was just random how we just got this random guy who looks like he's dead and he can't talk. But then we never really got any resolution with him.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
his son's in the kitchen chopping up meat
of some
with
sort.
a lot of it with that huge knife. And I mean, we find out that the father was, you know, dehydrated and basically neglected, but they never really
Put it with the rest of the
Put it
story.
with
Yeah,
right.
anything
It
Was
was
it
else.
kinda
necessary? Was it necessary?
Yeah,
I
the
don't-
father part wasn't. We could have just walked in and found Moses chopping up
Yeah.
the
yeah.
meat and been like, okay, cool, he's suspicious right now, and
Yeah,
then find
and
out
then,
later
like-
that, you know,
The father's just there, and it's like, what's the point?
yeah.
I don't know.
That was.
I don't think that was needed.
Yeah, that wasn't exactly a great story right there. It was interesting, and it made him seem even more weird and more
Maybe
suspicious.
that's why. Too.
Yeah, because it made him more suspicious by
Yeah.
having, you know, his dad locked up. I don't even know what you call what his dad was in that bed. But so they find out that Moses has a legit alibi, that he sold the cab through an internet company. He never saw the guy's face. He just dropped it off in a parking lot and
Shady.
walked away. Exactly, right? I mean, shady. You don't do that because somehow it's going to come back to you. And make sure aren't you supposed to like file paperwork when you sell your car? You transfer the title into someone else's name.
Well, he had that website where he sold the murder memorabilia.
Yeah, the murder articles for profit.
Okay.
But anything that goes online, it's still
Have a record of it.
Yeah, it's once it's on the internet, it's forever.
He didn't seem like quite the stand-up guy, so.
So you think it would be your name would still be connected to it no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what. Well, we find out that Perrick has agreed to meet with the cops since they now think that they're dealing with a copycat, but only if Peck goes there to see him, which
in
of
a little
course,
black dress.
In a little black dress.
In his little black dress. Yeah.
She knows the one he's talking about.
Yeah.
That was creepy.
Such a creeper.
So creepy.
Black number.
Yeah, the black number. Well, Gail overhears them talking about it, so at this point she now knows what's happening. She wants to go. Frank does not want to put her in there, doesn't want to put her in that situation, which I love Frank for this because he is such a fatherly type at Division 15 that, you know, regardless of what she thinks is okay and what Callahan what he kind of wants her to do, he's like, no, she doesn't need to be put through that again.
Yeah.
I would agree with him. I mean, but like she said, I'm a police officer, let me do my job. But with the situation, her being involved previously and just kind of bringing that all up, it's sad for her, and I'm sure brought up a lot of unpleasant memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good for Gail to step into that role and be that person when she realized, if I'm the only person that's going to get valuable information into solving this case, I'm going to do it. So I respect her in that manner that she did.
She got to kind of take the power back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did her duty.
Yeah. So speaking of her going in there, that whole exchange between Gail and what's his name? Perrick was so intense.
Yeah.
She did a good job, I thought, of, you know, holding back and not letting him have all the power. But then there was just moments in there where she kind of gave too much information, let him kind of get away from her a little bit. Because, you know, they were talking about how he kept saying, oh, you tell me a secret before I tell you yours. She gives him a fluffy story, you know, and he's like, no, I need something better than that. And then she goes into that whole cat killing thing. That was, I'm not a huge pet person, just animals in general. I've never been good with them. But that made me so sad that, you know,
Especially at a young age.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
accidentally kill an animal. Because it's usually that, you know, like serial killers, they always say it starts at a young age and usually starts with animals. So, and the fact that Gail was young and she killed an animal, maybe it kind of led her on the path to becoming a police, or kind of a darker path.
her cold nature.
Her cold nature, yeah.
That's what I thought of. Because,
That's interesting, yeah.
Because what he was also saying to her was Carl Jung. Is that how you said his name?
Yeah.
You know, that we all have this shadow self and that our guilt is always trying to claw its way out. So he's trying to get her to talk about her guilt and her shadow self, and killing a cat like that. That's where my mind went, was like, oh, maybe that's why she comes off as cold, because she has this dark past. Was the cat the only thing that happened in her childhood?
Or just a cold exterior, and the fact that she doesn't tell anyone stuff. Like she's not. She's very secretive. She's not really open-ended.
She keeps everything in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that led her to believe who she is. You know, like who she is now.
I think if she'd let it out, she wouldn't be so like.
Or if she was just honest with people
Yeah.
from the beginning, be like, if at that young age and she told her parents, or say, oh, I killed my cat, you know, and she actually felt remorse and guilt about it, she might have been a more nicer, warmer person nowadays.
Yeah.
Would there have been blood from the cat's neck getting snapped, like through the drawer? Or am I just imagining that she closed the drawer so it had so hard that the head like
I
actually
don't
came
want to
off.
think about it because I'm a crazy cat lady.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry.
that kind of just like disturbed me.
Well, because I was just thinking, how do you cover that up
right.
as a child if there was blood involved?
I don't know.
Maybe she's smart. Maybe there was a
Let's
very
hope not.
Yeah.
That's not-
Thinking way too much into the cat story. So then, eventually Gail does get him to confess. He brings up Viktor E. Frankl and talks about periods of distress and love. All these authors who he was bringing up, I'm going to have to go Google because I had
I think
no
they're
idea.
psychologists.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And I have no idea. I had no idea who they were, what their whole thing was. Mm-hmm. But
It's in the books, don't you know?
Yeah,
that?
the answers are always in the
The
books.
answers are always.
So
in
I
the
need to go
books,
read some
Tiona.
books so I can get some answers, so I can be smarter.
We'll quiz you next week.
Please don't. But Gail finally admits her another secret while she's in there
Yeah.
about what she feels guilty about. This is the moneymaker right here.
Yes.
Yep.
Last week we weren't sure what happened. She walked out of that
And
bar
you named it.
with Blackstone, and she did cheat on Nick.
And we said it last week. Gail is a jealous whore.
Jealous whore.
She's a jealous whore.
No, I'm back to not feeling bad for her because she cheated on Collins, and that's just not okay.
No.
But I mean,
Did you see his face? I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Did you
No.
just see his face?
Yeah.
Like when he saw it, just like it broke my heart because I mean everyone knows how much I love him, and we're like destined to be together. But I just saw his face, and I was just like, oh poor baby, come here.
I still feel bad for Gail too. It's just a sad situation all around. I mean, she heard this information from Blackstone that, Nick didn't come home when he could have, and I'm sure that broke her heart too.
I think it goes back to what you were saying about her keeping everything in. That maybe if she would have just sat down with Nick and told
about
her
Mm-hmm.
her feelings and what she was like, thinking and how she was feeling, that maybe things wouldn't have turned out the way they did.
yeah, if 3 weeks ago she had gone and said, "Hey, I feel like something's going on with you and Andy.
Right.
Right.
Tell me I'm crazy and that I'm imagining things."
Right.
Yeah.
Everything would have just been a lot better. But I understand Gail too. Maybe that's why I have conflicting feelings with her. Is I feel like I'm kind of like a Gail, where I kind of keep everything locked up sometimes. But at some point, you have to know when to let it out and just start talking and communicating.
Right.
And the part that sucks for her is that she didn't know Nick was in the other room
room.
behind the glass.
Yeah.
Even though what she confessed was on tape, so it was going to come out in
Anyways.
court at some point. But so their relationship is kaput.
Yeah.
Over.
But I love how, and then we'll wrap this up. So Gail gets the name, she gets enough information out of Perrick for the warden to know that, it was an inmate, Adam Sawyer. They are able to find the girl, Grace, and she's returned safely to her father. So yay for that.
That
But
was so quick.
it was a really
Yeah.
Because they immediately got the name, and then the very next cut, they're arresting him. And I think it was just, with this episode, it was more of a mental game rather than the whodunit kind of game that we're used to every week. And so I liked how they played with Gail's mentality and getting into her mind and letting her confess all these things, and then immediately get to an arrest. So I thought it was interesting how they had more mental rather than the physical takedown.
Yeah.
That was nice.
It
That
makes
was a
it
nice
different,
change. And
yeah.
then after it, you were still like, there's still 10 minutes left. What else is going to happen? And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought, that's the end of the episode. They found the killer. They wrapped that part up so fast that I just assumed that the episode was like, okay, we're done now. Mm-hmm. But no, we have,
Got more.
there was more. So much more happened after that. Gail and Nick have to have a relationship talk now because
Yes.
he clearly knows that she cheated.
Awkward moment.
Awkward moment in the car while it's raining. It rains a lot. I'm sorry. It's sunny and nice here in California. It always seems to rain at the end of their shift when they're all in the cars in the parking lot.
Or it always rains in serious, sad, emotional scenes. For dramatic effect.
Dramatic effect. Everyone's sad, so this is what's going to happen. So that's when Gail tells, Nick, Blackstone told me that, you had the weekend off. You decided to go off with Andy instead of coming home. his defense, which kind of valid, but still not really. You know, well, I didn't want to come home and uproot your life and then disappear again.
Yeah.
But at least if you had done at least that, she would have known that you were okay, that, you know, she knew you were working undercover somewhere. She put it together. But same goes for Andy, too.
Right.
She'd come home and just said, hey, I'm here, Andy, or Sorek, I still want to be with you. Their relationship would be in a different place, too.
That is true. And Nick said that it was only one weekend when they went away. I'm like, well, you had all the other weekends to go back home.
Yeah.
That's what I'm confused about, because Blackstone said they had all weekends off, right?
Yeah. That's what he said.
But he's only talking about, he was like, it was one weekend that him and Andy went on their little weekend
Niagara
getaway.
Falls.
Weekend
Yeah.
getaway. But it's like what she said. I mean, you chose to be with her instead of with me. So it's like she kind of got her answer there.
And then he admits it was a crush. I mean, it's something.
It's
Yeah.
something.
And then did you listen when he said he's like, I was hoping it was just a crush.
I was hoping it was going to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so feelings are still there.
Feelings are still there. I'm so excited. I really want them to get together.
They are cute, though.
They are so cute. When they were like just chilling in their car earlier in the episode, you know, goofing around and stuff, it was like, oh, see, this is okay. But you know what Gail never does say is who she cheated on him with. So I
Right.
wonder if at some point that will come out and Collins will get even more mad because it was like his.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Just like everything just blow up in her face.
I should say blow up. But maybe more resolution to why she cheated. Because I get you were kind of abandoned by your boyfriend and left alone, but that still doesn't justify you cheating.
Yeah, she was angry. That's not. Yeah.
Yeah, and who she chose to cheat on him with makes a difference too, because she thought that him and Andy had something, so she chose someone who
She was getting her information from, too.
getting her information from, who worked with him. You know, there was a lot of people in that bar that night who she could have chose to go home with.
I guess he was just the easiest, like right there. I mean, in so many ways.
He was like, I'm not done. I'm gonna go home with you.
No,
I mean, it was right there. You know,
I
so-
think the guy, what was his name? Blackstone. Blackstone understood Gail and where she came from. I think the reason why those two could have hooked up is because they just had the same level of understanding with each other.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then poor Tracy, this episode too. I know last week, I think it was, I said I was kind of sad that we hadn't been seeing a lot of Tracy and that she
Right.
didn't really have much to do. I felt like tonight she was kind of brought back in. It still wasn't a huge amount that
Right.
it was, but I was glad to see her back and that she got a little playing time with everyone else.
And I like how they touch upon how Tracy's dealing with Jerry's death a little bit,
Yeah.
because we always saw that she's focusing on work, but how is it affecting her emotionally? And they kind of touched upon that tonight, that she is struggling.
Yeah.
And I like that the show hasn't just dismissed the fact that they killed Jerry.
Yeah.
You know, a
And
lot of
keep bringing
shows,
it
it's
back.
kind of like, okay, we're done with that, and then they never bring up that character's name again. But almost every week, there's some reference to Jerry and what happened, and it's a constant reminder that, you know, they're still dealing with this in their own way, because even Swarek was dealing with it tonight.
The pocket watch.
Yeah, with the pocket watch,
Yeah.
and just, you know, choosing to work with Andy because, you know,
They knew,
he
understood
knew he
each
wouldn't
other,
have
yeah.
to talk about it. You know, it's just everyone's dealing with it in their own way.
It makes me think that maybe the writers didn't want to kill Jerry in the first place, that maybe it was just for storyline and dramatic purposes that they killed off someone. Not that they wanted to, but they feel like they had to.
Yeah.
So even though they killed Jerry off, they still want to bring him back. Like they didn't want to kill him originally, you know,
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Maybe they'll pull off like some type of soap opera thing where he comes back in like somebody else's brain or something.
His twin brother comes,
Yeah.
comes into town with identical
He comes rolling
twins.
into town. His name's like Perry or something.
Yeah. And speaking of brothers, what about Steve Peck?
I think him and
Him and
Tracy are so
Tracy?
cute.
Right?
They're very cute. And I like how like Gail's brother is kind of opposite of her, where he seems to be like the nice, sweet guy, and like Gail's just kind of just like,
Yeah, and clearly Tracy felt comfortable enough with him to really open up because she shared that dream that she has
Right.
about Jerry coming back. I was tearing up during that because that's got to be so hard, you know, just
And
that dream in general.
Yeah, and the fact that she's opening up only after a few hours of knowing him and like literally breaking down, that says a lot.
yeah.
And and then when he came back at the end after, you know, the case had been solved and everything, and he's like, "You want to grab a drink?" She's like, "Oh, I don't really feel like going out." And he's like, "Who said anything about going anywhere?" And pulls out that flask. That's a man after my own heart. Oh my gosh, I sound like such an alcoholic right now, but that's just so amazing that he just had a nice cold flask chilling in his back pocket. Make sure it's full next time, though. You know, got to make sure there's enough to go around for everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really cute. So I'd like to see.
But the fact that that Tracy pulls out a bottle of what used to be Jerry's alcohol shows that she is moving on, though. She's drinking his.
Yeah, because she got really mad
stash.
at Sam earlier for moving or changing the filing system and touching
Change
stuff
everything
on.
around without telling her.
Yeah, without telling her. So it's still very new, but I think it's good that Steve Peck is around, and hopefully he'll be around for a while.
Yeah. Maybe.
'Cause Tracy needs some loving too. And then what else? Oh, and then I want to just talk about really quickly. So Shaw left his wife.
Yeah, I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a finally moment. It's like Diaz leaves and Shaw's like finally gets rid of his wife. It's like we don't have to listen to Diaz say, "I have a son" anymore.
Yeah.
We don't have to listen to Shaw complain about his wife anymore. It's like, yay!
Closing those chapters.
Yeah, closing
Yeah.
those chapters up. So that was kind of nice to hear. Well, that sounds really bad when you say it like that.
We don't have to hear it anymore.
Yeah, we don't have to hear anymore.
I like the whole little like conversation that him and Dove had at the end when they were in the car. Kind of like, oh, you know, like he says, like, "I left my wife," type of thing. You know, I kind of need a friend too. You know, so that's why I'm not only asking for you, but I'm asking for me too. So I thought that was a little touching.
And speaking of friends, you should tell your friends to go onto iTunes and go search AfterBuzz TV Rookie Blue. From there, you can rate and comment. Tell a friend about our awesome after show. Tell us what you like about the show. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us what we can do to make it so we can improve on the show and see who we'd like to try to get onto the show. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And then while you're doing that, after you download and rate us, you can download Adventures of Serial Buddies, which is awesome, funny, killer comedy movie with starring Maria Menounos, written by our very own executive producer Kevin Undergaro, and directed by him, starring Beth Bears from Two Broke Girls, Kathy Lee Gifford, Maria Menounos herself, Henry Winkler, who narrates, Christopher Lloyd, Christopher McDonald, a whole slew of funny comedians. Dexter meets Dumb and Dumber.
Yes.
Check it out.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Very
Available
funny.
on iTunes and Amazon. Check it out.
Good job, Marissa.
Back to
Thank
our
you.
regular schedule.
Was there anything else you guys wanted to touch on from this episode? Oh, Andy and
Go
Sam
ahead.
at the end with their little conversation about being friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't much because
thought
we didn't
we
get a lot
were.
of them in this
No, we didn't.
episode. But
You could
was-
see his new girlfriend had a little.
she's been giving a lot of stink face.
Yeah. She's good at that too.
She's good at the stink face.
Yeah.
She's a little uncomfortable with them working together, and she comes in at the end. They're chit chatting in the locker room together.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's a good step. Maybe that's finally the moment when now Andy can move towards Nick and it's a clear path, and then clearly that's gonna get in Swarek's mind and
Right.
then cause trouble there, and then we'll have
Right.
another triangle.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I liked how they kind of got closure with those two tonight and maybe move in their own separate directions.
Hopefully.
I like the whole little bipolar discussion in the car.
Marlo and Chloe, can you picture those two together?
Oh,
no.
no.
Complete opposites together.
I kind of just thought it was like a little like funny, you know, type of moment. You know, saying, "I can't believe he thought, you know, I was bipolar," and then, it just kind of like escalated.
It's such an awkward conversation for Cruz because she is bipolar, but I like how she played along. It was like, yeah, how would you be able to, especially if you had a gun in the situation, like that would be really bad.
Yeah. I like when she's like this, you like guys with like bangs or something. And it's like, it makes it more serious.
I missed my Chloe dose tonight.
Yeah, we
But
got
it was-
a little bit of
Yeah,
it.
we got a little bit of her, but then things got a little serious.
She's definitely grown on me. I like her. And maybe they're going to develop a friendship. I mean, Chloe kind of expressed that she's like, everyone's a little crazy in their own way or whatever. And I'm sure Cruz felt a little more comfortable because Chloe expressed like it wasn't that big of a deal. She made it seem like.
Yeah.
And she brought up some points about like how could you hide that from the person you want to be with.
Right, kind of making.
And since Sam doesn't know, maybe, you know, this will be the pushing point for Cruz to open up to him about this whole thing too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that about wraps up that. So, do we have any news and gossip for tonight?
AfterBuzz TV News.
It's hard for news and gossip
Yeah,
because
it
they're
is.
in like another country, you know?
But I will say this, if you guys aren't already doing it, check out the live tweeting that the cast does every
Yeah.
week
Yeah,
during
they
the
were doing it
episode
tonight.
because it's really fun. They give a lot of insight. They're very good about responding to everything that's happening. And Unica, I love her because she plays Tracy, in case you didn't know. She's never watching when the live tweeting's going on.
She's here.
Yeah, because she's here, so
Yeah.
she has to wait. And then I think it was last week when she wasn't even home to watch the episode. She's like, I have no idea what's going on, but keep live tweeting me. I want to keep talking. So they're really fun. It seems like a very fun cast, and like they have a lot of fun up there. So that's that. Let's get into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, who wants to start with some predictions?
I'll start because you're all looking at me. Okay. I think because Andy and Sam are finally having some closure and they're getting along, and Marlo's getting kind of jealous. Going back to telling, you know, you can't live with that kind of secret of being bipolar. I think because Marlo realizes that they're on good terms and she's losing Sam, she's going to tell Sam about her bipolar condition.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a good one. If we're just going based off of the preview for next week, it seems like Sam's old training officer or mentor is going to be in some sort of trouble because it sounds like old case is coming back up. I'm also going to predict that Nick and Andy, they're going to hook up now.
Oh, totally.
Now that they're both single and they don't have to just play house anymore, they can actually be in house.
Yeah, and Andy said tonight she's happy being single. I don't know if I really believe that.
Yeah, I think, and that's going to cause drama just within everything because, you know, Gail has just broken up with Nick, and so it's going to be all this girl drama. Mm-hmm. What about you guys?
Me. Well, I think Diaz is going to come back because he's going to go on like Maury or something and find out
Baby
that
is not yours.
he's not the daddy. But no, he's definitely coming back. And let me see. So Dove is going to get his BFF, the little bromance going on again. I think that's cute. I think that if something does, and it probably will happen between Nick and Andy, I don't see them being long term. I see her going back to Swarek.
I do too. Long term.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I like Chloe. I want to see more Chloe and Dove with
Chloe
his
and
bangs.
Dove.
I like them.
Yeah, and I want to see more Noelle. Like, where is she? Come on,
Maternity.
Get off of maternity leave
maternity
already.
has been like a year.
I mean, come on.
It's like the kid is
For
like
us,
ready.
for us, it's
kindergarten.
been a year because she left like the end of last season too. So.
She had
Yeah.
the baby when the thing with Peck happened last year when she got abducted. It was the same episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot
Kind of
about
come full
that.
circle.
Yeah.
But we did see her in like the first episode
Yeah, I think we need to see more.
of this.
Well, we have to
season,
see
so.
their wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's when she'll come back.
Yeah, and I do want to see Tracy and what's his name?
The new pack.
Steve Peck.
Steve.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope Tracy and the new pack get together. And I mean, the whole thing with Tracy last year, and it's so sad. So hopefully she finds someone and is happy with that.
All right. Well, let us know what you guys think. Where can they find everyone on social media?
You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Justinique and on Peter Mooney's arm, A Girl Can Dream. 646.
One of these days, they're gonna give out your whole phone number.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I'm gonna wait
Let us
for him to call me.
I love it.
I am on Twitter at Kim Dahlgren.
You can find me on Twitter at TweetT22 or on Instagram at Tiona Hobson. Thank you for joining us as always, guys. We'll see you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.